Welcome back, true believers and spectacular Spidey fans, to another really exciting episode of Spider-Man PS4 101. So with the game exactly 2 days away from releasing and a lot of the reviews coming out giving it almost perfect scores, there is still lots to discuss about the game's story with the final online edition of the Daily Bugle newspaper on PlayStation's website. And seeing how this is indeed the last iteration of the Daily Bugle newspapers, I would just like to take time to thank PlayStation, Insomniac, and Marvel for creating such an intuitive and immersive experience while waiting for this amazing game. But without further ado, everybody, let's get into it right now. So the headline of the newspaper states, "Will Scorpion sting or sing? The trial begins tomorrow" by Cat Farrell. MacDonald Mac Gargan, aka the deadly mecha criminal Scorpion, has finally been apprehended by police thanks in no small part to the heroic efforts of Spider-Man. Wanted for multiple counts of criminal activity, including attempted murder and attempted kidnapping, the Venom-tipped supervillain is now due to stand trial. While the poisonous public enemy is known to be the silent but deadly type, the district attorney isn't letting him go so easy. Prosecutors are expected to put considerable pressure on Gargan tomorrow to speak for his crimes. Regardless of whether Gargan admits to the list of criminal charges he's racked up or not, it's a no-brainer. Scorpion's one-way ticket to maximum security prison, the Raft, is punched. So it's really cool to get a little bit of a backstory to how Scorpion was apprehended before Spider-Man came in during the E3 2018 Raft demo, and his boss fight in the game is easily one of my favorites, so definitely make sure to look out for it. Now moving on to one of the more obscure figures of the game's story relates to Norman Osborn, with an article about him called "A 5-Star Mayor. Mayor Norman Osborn's approval ratings are unmatched by Ben Urich." Findings from the latest polls regarding Mayor Norman Osborn's approval ratings show high favorability amongst New Yorkers. This comes as no surprise, as the mayor has proven his outstanding dedication to the improvement of our great city. Unlike his predecessors, Mayor Osborn has carried out many of his promised initiatives, from an environmental research program to a citywide crime monitoring system. And these are just two promising items from his docket of initiatives. The CEO of Oscorp has clearly shown he's capable of not only taking a government position, but following through on his promises as well. And with the rigid support of New Yorkers behind him, it seems Mayor Osborn has the momentum to continue doing just that. So with Norman Osborn having a very intriguing role within the game's story, it's really nice to get some background about how he acts as mayor for the citizens of New York. And speaking of the citywide crime monitoring system that was brought up previously, it actually relates to Silver Sable herself. And this particular article is titled "Cop Out? Foreign Security Firm Courts Crime-Ridden City." And with a nice little nod to the game's art director, it said it was opt by Jacinda C. Despite the mayor's crime monitoring system, City Hall is reportedly communicating with Silver Sable, head of Symkaria-based security force Sable International. Rumor has it a potential contract is being discussed to bring her guards to the city in an effort to quote-unquote bolster local law enforcement. Sable International is known for intervening in European countries that struggled against rising crime and other internal social issues. Yet the organization has an alarming track record of overstepping their boundaries, often intimidating civilians and disregarding local law enforcement's policies altogether. The mayor's new crime monitoring system hasn't even truly launched. Officials should give it a chance before calling on dangerous and unpredictable foreign forces to supplement New York's finest. So even though Silver Sable has a role within the game's story, it's really cool to get some background about how her company Sable International has been used in the past. And I can safely say myself that I thoroughly enjoyed every single moment Silver Sable was in the game's story. And moving on to something about a character's role in the game that will not be featured too much is Harry Osborn's involvement within the game. And this section of the newspaper states, "Bon voyage, Harry. Harry Osborn heads overseas to manage Oscorp" by Betty Brandt. Under mounting pressure from city officials, Mayor Osborn has finally announced his departure from Oscorp overseas. The mayor revealed in a press conference that he will no longer manage Oscorp's international affairs, appointing his young son Harry Osborn as his international successor. Osborn's appointment was long overdue. Immediately after graduating from Empire State University at the top of his class, the young Osborn successfully pitched a revival plan for his late mother's research labs. In his new role overseas, Harry Osborn is primed to manage all of Oscorp's European offices and projects. While New York City will miss its prodigal son, we're already excited to see the greater good he'll undoubtedly do for the world at large. So knowing that Norman Osborn is mayor within this game's universe and Harry is out doing things for Oscorp in Europe, his involvement in the story is going to be really interesting when exploring all the research stations. And if you want to learn a lot more about who this particular Harry is, I would definitely recommend taking all the time in the world to do all of his amazing research stations. But moving on to an article that actually relates to a big character in the game is actually by Mary Jane Watson, relating to millennials in peril, rising rent prices dash big city dreams. The struggle for freshly graduated millennials is about to get real as city rent suffered another jarring increase. As reported previously, young professionals were going broke from the city's incredible rental rates, with many blaming Spider-Man's recklessness for the market impact. But what about the real destructive forces? The mass maniacs he's defended us us against. Spider-Man has defeated every one of the costume criminals who have declared war on New York and wreaked subsequent havoc. Had the web-slinger not shown up 8 years ago, there wouldn't be a city to hike rental prices in the first place. Besides, the rebuilt skyline is always better than the last thanks to construction titan Wilson Fisk. He's reassembled the rubble from practically every corner of the city, even in the smaller, once affordable boroughs. It's no wonder debt-ridden millennials are draining their savings to keep up. New York City was once the place for starry-eyed youngsters with sky-high aspirations. However, as prices soar ever higher with no end in sight, for many those dreams remain just that, dreams. So not only is it really cool to see that throughout the game you'll be struggling as Peter Parker and Spider-Man, but even the citizens of New York themselves are struggling to maintain their homes. And this is just another reason as to why the city feels more alive than it's ever felt in any other Spider-Man game. Now, getting into the last article from this newspaper actually relates to Mr. Negative's inner demons. And this article states, Chinatown Demons, Masked Thugs Raise Hell by Ben Urich. Unbelievably, a new gang has arrived in our already crime-riddled city, and the Daily Bugle is the first with emerging details on the masked newcomers. Wearing black tie suits and terrifying Chinese masks, this new gang of well-dressed demons is terrorizing citizens. While no official reports state where the group came from, it seems they have made Chinatown their headquarters. Could it be that international crime is carving out a new home in our city? While locals have expressed their fears, New York City's billionaire philanthropist Martin Lee feels differently. Groups like that are after thousands of dollars in money. Many in this area cannot afford that, especially those in the feast shelters. If it's money they want around here, I'm afraid they'll be disappointed, he says. While Lee's statement carries truth, many are wondering just how long their pocket money is safe before these mental mass goons start shaking down citizens for their loose change. And for me personally, I can say that the inner demons are easily some of my favorite enemies that I've ever fought in any other Spider-Man game. Not only do they provide a huge challenge when taking on a bunch of them at once, but they also come equipped with negative energy to fight Spider-Man with. This can range from using negative pickaxes, swords, whips, and more, plus the heavy brute inner demons are a real challenge. And all I'll say is that you're gonna have a blast taking them on as your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And to end off the video with a small reference at the end of the newspaper relates to Mick's Restaurant. Stop in for authentic Italian home cooking, just rated by NYC's top food critics. And even though I don't want to give too much away, all I'll say is definitely keep your eyes peeled for this location in the game. But anyways guys, that is all the news I have for you today, and that was the final iteration of the online Daily Bugle newspapers. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments section down below, and what did you think of this particular newspaper? Out of all the newspapers that we've got previously, my favorite one was the third one where it featured the Spider-Man cosplayer, but I did really like the background this one gave about Silver Sable and Norman Osborn. But anyways guys, thank you all so much for watching. Stay spectacular, Spidey fans. Peace out.
Next time you get in my way, I will not be so gentle.
Girl problems again.